Welcome to Blackbird Writers Presents. I'm Jacqueline Vick, one of the Blackbirds, and today we are interviewing Janet Elizabeth Lynn and Will Zeilinger, published authors, both of them. They'd been writing individually until they got together and wrote the Skylar Drake mystery series. These private eye tales are based in old Hollywood of the 1950s. Between the two of them, they have published 17 books plus a couple of short stories. Their world travels have sparked several ideas for murder and crime stories. This creative couple lives in Southern California, and they're still married after 50 years and 5 novels together, which is quite an accomplishment. Welcome, Janet and Will. How are you?
Good to be here.
I'm even more impressed about still together after the 5 novels. That's quite an accomplishment. And it's you guys have quite a collection of works. I mean, you've got the Skylar Drake mysteries, the cozies, humorous books, romantic comedies. So did I get them out? What are the genres you write in?
Well, I write in kind of thriller mysteries, and then I also wrote three cozies, which I thoroughly enjoy writing. And at the time, I've always wanted to write noir. I always wanted to write hard-boiled detective because I loved all the Dashiell Hammett books, but I can't get into a guy's head like he can. And since we'd already both written, I presented the idea to him and I said, well, what do you think of us writing together? And he said, yeah, we can try it. Let's do one book, see if we're still married. So we got together and we wrote Slivers of Glass.
That wasn't exactly how it happened, though.
But he has a different version.
Okay, let's hear it.
She was working on one of her books and she got stuck on some dialogue or some inner thought of one of her male characters. And she turned to me and she goes, if you were a guy, I said, excuse me. So I said, let me see that. So I looked at what she wrote and I said, well, number one, guys don't care what kind of shoes they're wearing. And one of our Skylar Drake books, we have a scene where our protagonist, Skylar Drake's in a bar and his partner, Casey Dolan, comes in with this beautiful young woman in a red dress. That's how Janet worded it. And I said, well, let me take a look at that. So I changed it came in with a beautiful young woman in a red dress and said, don't wait up for me. I looked up at Casey and his friend, and there was a lot going on under that little red dress.
Yeah, who would have thought to do that?
I like that. And in fact, I remember that.
Male POV,
male POV is very different than a female POV.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Which and that brings about a question. I can't remember the authors' names, but the Mr. and Mrs. North series is written by a husband and wife team, and after the wife passed away, he was explaining the writing process and said that she was really the idea person, and he sat at the typewriter and wrote out the stories, but all of the ideas came from her. Do you guys have your own specialties, or do you work collaboratively?
That's similar. That's very similar.
Similar. What happens is I write the outline, and I give it to him.
She's diabolical.
Yeah. And then he adds to it and he gives it back to me. Then I start writing. And then we pass it back and forth about 10 times. Now I'm the one that does most of the fights and the stabbings and the shootings,
which is a riot.
And the police car chases. And he does these beautiful romantic, walks along the beach.
I can massage the
scenes. He massages them just beautifully. I mean, I can write romantic scenes and do a good job. It takes blood for me to do that. And since he's so good at it, I just say romantic scene here, and he writes it, and it just comes out beautifully.
Well, the interesting thing is that our individual works and our co-written works, our Skylar Drake books, the voice is very different in the co-written books than either one of our standalones.
Yeah, and our editor keeps telling us it's so different. That one voice, that third voice is just not. I can't imitate it without him, and he can't imitate it without me. It's just really interesting how that
is
interesting. Voice continued over 5 books.
Someone, I don't remember who it was, but someone compared some of our Skylar Drake books. They thought it was similar to the style to Ross McDonald.
Yeah. I think that's fascinating. I hadn't thought about it, that there would be a third voice that is a combination of the two of you. Now, you said, Janet, that you had always wanted to write like a thriller. Did as far as the different genres that you've written in, did you just each try one because you wanted, well, let's try a cozy, or let's try a humor book, or what prompted you to try so many different genres?
Well, what started when I first started to write, I thought I was going to write romantic comedy. So I wrote two
With
manuals.
blood?
Yeah, with blood, and
That
people,
was the problem.
nobody said it was, no, it wasn't funny. I thought it was hysterical. Well, nobody laughed. So then I thought I'd try romance, which I did, but every time I got stuck, I'd kill somebody. And they kept telling me, it's too many dead bodies in here.
Like you said, with blood.
Yeah, do with blood. So I got very frustrated. I didn't know what to do or what to write. And I happened to be at a seminar with Dean Koontz that was there. So I went up and I asked him, what should I do? And he gave me the best advice. He said, write what you like to read. And I came home and did my first book, South of the Pier, which is more of a mystery thriller. And I really did enjoy writing it. And when I put it up, people liked it. They bought it. So I wrote another one and ended up writing 4 in the series. And then people asked, would you write cozies? I said, well, I guess I could try. And I really did enjoy writing the cozies. It's very different. It's really female
Romance
genre.
fiction, sort of.
Yeah, female fiction, because bad things happen, but it's like Miss Marple, that kind of thing.
Right. Not on the screen.
Yeah, but I've always enjoyed hard-boiled detective, 1950s, read all of them, and I decided, I think I'd like to try that. But again, the fact that I'm female wasn't quite working so well.
Well, that's funny, because when I read the Skylar Drake mysteries, you guys really beat him up. You guys really beat him up. Is that all Janet?
Yeah, mostly me.
Both, yes.
Yeah, he adds to it, makes it worse. But I think the thing is that we torture our characters.
Yes.
Because that's what the genre requires, is that he is so beat up that when he gets to the end, he survives it and he learns from it. And then the next chapter, he learns something new about himself.
Well,
That's perfectly put. That's how they
Yeah.
are. And I also think it's funny that you're the one who wants to write the murder, and Will, you've written romantic comedies.
I have, but when you ask that question about does Janet write that or do I write this? That's one of our big rules when we sat down and decided to write together, was check our egos at the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the important part was the story, not who wrote what. But when you do ask it, I have to say that she's, like I said, Janet's kind of diabolical. So I sleep with one eye open.
Actually, he does.
That's funny. So
Yeah, I have to say, when we edit each other's work, but I really did enjoy his romantic comedy. What's it called?
Oh, The Naked Groom.
Naked Groom, The Naked Groom. It is hysterically funny. Tell him about it.
Oh, it's about a guy who's going culinary school, wants to be a chef, but he gets into some real problems. He falls in love with one of the other students there, and mayhem ensues. But they end up. It's not a happily ever after ending. In fact, I kind of left the door open to write another one, which I haven't never gotten around to yet. But he has some interactions with dogs and bikers and all sorts of things.
Yes. And
a dog by the name of Lardass is the dog's name.
I remember that, because he inherited, or he didn't name
It got foisted on him. Sort of, here, watch my dog. Yeah. I'm not going to want to give too much away.
No, you don't. But his girlfriend that he's engaged to is she's funny in her own right, because she's a little bit
odd.
Rich and flaky, I guess would be the word for it. But I think that's funny that you're writing the romantic comedies and she's writing the murder scenes. But other than murder, you also are good with food. What I found interesting was the names of the cozies. They're like eggnog, crepes Suzette, Charlotte Russe. I mean, those are all in your titles. So how did recipes play into your cozies? Did you, because I know you do cooking outside of your writing.
Well, I need to say right up front, I am not a cook. I love to eat, but I'm not a cook. Been married 50 years because he does the cooking and I don't.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But I do love desserts. Desserts are something that I live for, and anything that was in the mouth and down the throat, I mean, it's really for me. I had started, the first book was eggnog because it started Christmas, New Year's Eve and ends New Year's Eve, or Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So that's why I call it eggnog. But as I was writing it, I had so much fun thinking about eggnog, I even drank it as I was writing it. And then I thought, I think people like this. So I did another one, and I did crepe Suzette because I love crepe Suzettes. I mean, that's my favorite dessert. And I worked it around it. And then there was Charlotte Russe. When I was young from New York, we had Charlotte Russe. It was a beautiful dessert. And they had small things that it was always filled with whipped cream. And so every time you bite into it, you got a nose full of cream. And I always remembered that. And I decided this is what I'm going to name that one.
That's funny. So does that mean that because on your social media, the two of you did the ancestry.com and found out where all your ancestors came from, and you do cooking? Is Will doing all the cooking?
Janet finds a lot of the recipes.
Yeah, but he has to okay them because he does most of the cooking. I help. He feels that I should learn how to do this after all these years. And I now can chop vegetables without hurting myself.
Oh, good.
She's commandeered one of the chef's knives down.
Yeah,
so
now it's my favorite
like
toy.
I just thought that was such a cool idea to experience the cuisine of where your ancestors came from. So I love that when you post what you're, this is what we're celebrating tonight, and with what.
Well, some of what we found, there was a company called My Heritage that we went through, and both of us were frankly rather surprised at some of the things that we found in what our DNA told us. So and we had never experienced the food from those places. So hey, let's jump in and do that. No haggis though.
No.
Yeah.
This started during the pandemic because we were bored, and we got our DNA. This would be kind of cool to do. And we just did it once a month, and we also listened to music from that country,
Oh,
and we put our
wonderful.
playlist up, and that's been a lot of fun too, to eat and be immersed in the food and the music.
Try to enhance the environment. When we're eating
We almost feel like we're there.
What was the biggest surprise for each?
I think the biggest surprise was me. I always thought it was Irish and Italian. My mother's Italian, my father's Irish. I was shocked to find out I had a lot of Greek in me. Very surprised by that. Yeah, very surprised by the Greek and Iberian as well, which is Portuguese.
Wow.
I had no idea. And it was really a shocker to me. My mother would love to have heard from this about this.
What about you, Will?
Well, my mother was from the Philippines. My father's side was German. Two things. My mother always said, you're French, Chinese, Spanish, Filipino, no Chinese. Number one. On my dad's side, very little German.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, found out, well, it kind of bleeds over into Bavaria, but
yeah.
In fact, I've got more Italian in me than she does. But I found I had Scandinavian in me, which I didn't know. Central Asian.
Does he look Scandinavian?
Oh, yeah. Central Asian, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, all those places, all the stands.
Yeah.
And I had no idea, but part of that does kind of bleed over into China, but that's just DNA. That doesn't mean people didn't live in those places.
Right.
But so we found all these places. I never even heard of some of the cuisine in these places. So we had a great time researching. And
wow, you've got a lot to cover.
I did enjoy the French food. That was a lot of fun. And we did.
Recently, we just did Maltese from Malta.
That was delicious. What's it called?
Caponata.
Oh, was that good? We made it, and we're going to make it many times. We just loved it. We had it with rice and pasta. Oh, it's delicious.
But the map they show kind of shows where this DNA group kind of bleeds over into these certain areas, and Malta just falls inside.
And you were like, so what the heck? Their food's good. Let's
claim
it. See it. Yeah.
So those were a lot of fun, and in my Something's Cooking at Dove Acres, kind of the same thing, except that's more the stories of a young college girl who just graduated from high school and how she kind of cooks on a shoestring, which is a lot of fun to do, to improvise things.
And when I wrote my cozies, people were calling and asking for recipes that
Mhm.
the characters were eating on the pages. I'm thinking, okay, so I put some cookbooks together and I offered them for 99 cents when they buy the book. That took blood too, because I'm not a cook. I had to try each one of them. So
Strictly
Oh, that's true.
it took a long time.
And that is why I have no recipes in my books.
Yeah.
Because it's a frightening thing to me. And Frankie's a bad cook anyway. So they would have to be June's recipes or else recipes nobody would bother making. So,
Oh. Mhm.
because Frankie's, yeah, that not her skill set.
Yeah.
So, oh, that's fun too. But the two of you, now I met you the first, you were my very first online interview ever through Zoom. You guys are so generous with your time with other authors because you interview them for chatting with authors. Did that also come about because of the pandemic or?
It did. We missed our friends.
Right.
So we thought, well, let's do this and talk to them. And it kind of snowballed. And it just now we're in the 70s now. We have 71 or 72 coming up next month.
Who,
And-
us?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not talking age, you're talking.
No, I'm telling
about-
you, there's a number of people that we've done this.
Yeah.
And it's been so much fun meeting new authors like you and people referring them. And it's been a lot of fun meeting people. We've interviewed people in Scotland,
Oh,
Scandinavia.
yeah. Zoom's been wonderful, rather than getting people, haul themselves all the way down to Long Beach so we could interview them. Zoom has let us, like Janet said, interview people from everywhere, and
Mhm.
geography isn't a problem.
Oh, I highly recommend people check out Chatting with Authors on YouTube because they've got great interviews with some great
Mhm.
authors. It's a lot of fun. You guys are nice people too.
Oh, thank you very
Oh,
It
much.
makes it easy, makes the interview very, very easy.
Mhm.
Now, didn't you recently start a new series?
We did. In fact, I've got a tentative idea for our cover. So let's
It's
see
called
if we have
Stone
it.
Pub.
Ooh.
It's the first in the series. It takes place 1962 and it goes into Ireland. And
Oh,
the
wow.
reason we chose this is because we were in Ireland and all of a sudden the story came as we were touring, as we were looking, of course, for body dumps and all sorts of stuff and asking people, where would you dump a
Normal
dead body?
tourist things.
And
Yeah.
people, it's half of
Small
them.
talk,
Yeah, and half of them would kind of stare at me and walk backwards, but the others were very accommodating, gave us landmarks across streets, the good dead body dumps.
That's funny.
So we're in the process of writing that now, and we got that book, the book cover we're working on now too.
Now I noticed the author's name. Is that a combination of your name?
Yes, we decided to try it for this series. It's a combination of our names. E is what? Both of our middle initials.
I'm Elizabeth and he's Earl.
The J for Janet, and the Williams is my first name,
Mhm.
William.
Oh, that's so great. So there's going to be lots of blood in it, I think, because you're writing
Well-
it together. Blood and romance.
It still
So-
puts us way down the alphabet, though.
It's a mystery, but it's a lot of thriller.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, wonderful. I look forward to reading that. That sounds
Thank you.
fun. And when do you think that will be out? Or do you have a date or is it
Well,
We
still
saw our
waiting?
edit-
with all the
on,
moving and everything, it's kind of fluid right now.
Yeah.
it's almost done. Our editor, we talked to our editor last week. So we are in the process of moving as well as finishing up the book
Okay, so then we will look forward to hearing about.
before the end
Um,
of the year.
Hopefully before the end of the year.
No, that's what's next. But do either of you have any works in progress on your own individually, or is this your focus now?
Well, this is our focus, but I've been dabbing with short stories. I wrote 2 stories and got them published, but it was hard to write hard to write
is.
short. And I'm starting to get the hang of it now. And I've got a couple of short stories I'll be sending out soon.
Oh, wonderful. Shorts, I stayed away from them for forever. I don't know why, but then I started reading anthologies and now I'm like, if I see a short story, I'm like, ooh, let's check it out.
Mhm, yeah.
Because it really is a good way to people have so little time nowadays. It's a good way to sample somebody,
Right.
to sample characters and that kind of thing. So that's exciting that you've got some short stories coming out. Now, if anybody wants to reach you, what are your websites? You have individual websites and then you have one together.
Well, mine is janetlynnauthor.com and yours
And mine
is
is willzeilingerauthor.com. But we also have a blog they can reach us at, which is called themarriedauthors.blogspot.com.
Oh, themarriedauthors.blogspot.com.
Right,
can
and that
you
has kind of a
spell-
review of, pardon me?
Can you spell your website for people
Mine?
who don't know how to spell Zeilinger?
Oh, it's WILLZEILINGER author.com.
.com.
But our married authors, that's the married authors blog, kind of shows people where we've been, our appearances, books we're writing, contact information, that sort of thing.
kind of up to date.
Oh, very, very good. And one last question is, you guys have traveled so much. You're setting this in Ireland. Are there other countries on your target list for future books?
The second book is called The Jeweled Mosque. It takes place in Turkey. I guess
wow.
about is
Well, it goes to
around,
Turkey during the Cold War.
yeah, during the Cold War, Istanbul.
Oh, I love
And that's been so much fun to research. I mean, it really is quite cool. So those are the two books that we have outlined, ready to go. We just got to write them.
Oh,
That pesky thing you got to
yeah.
do is right.
get it out there. Yes. Well, I'm looking forward to your new series and your short stories, Janet.
Thank you.
You have the contact information to find our guests online. The author interviews that we do with Blackbird Writers are at blackbirdwriters.com or the YouTube channel, which is BB Writers, I believe. I hope I said that right. And well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us out of your busy schedule with your move and your books.
I have to thank you for inviting
Yes,
us.
thank
We
you for
enjoyed it.
asking us. And it's always fun to talk with you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
All right.